You check into a hotel room. You lock. You check into a hotel room. You lock. Twice, maybe 3 times. You test the handle. You feel safe. That feeling is a lie. In one case, a guest was found dead inside a room locked from the inside, bolted, chained, sealed like a vault. No broken window, no forced entry, no one on the security footage. Nothing. How does a person die alone when the room itself proves no one else could have gotten in? Sit with that for a second, because it only gets worse. The injuries didn't match a fall. They didn't match an accident.
The body wasn't positioned the way bodies collapse naturally. Someone or something controlled those final movements with terrifying precision. Not panic, not chaos, control. Detectives stopped sleeping over this case. Locked room deaths aren't new. They've haunted investigators for over a century. But here's what almost no one knows. Your brain starts turning against you the moment you walk into an unfamiliar room. A study found unfamiliar enclosed spaces trigger a hidden stress response before you're even aware of it. Cortisol spikes, spatial awareness collapses, rational thought weakens. A hotel room isn't neutral. It's quietly rewiring how your brain judges danger. Still, that doesn't explain a locked door with no one behind it.
So investigators dug into something darker, something almost nobody talks about: terminal behavior. In the final seconds of death, the human body can perform complex, deliberate-looking actions with zero conscious thought behind them. Hands grip, fingers twist, muscles fire in patterns that look intentional but aren't. That's when everything changed for the people working this case. The impossible locked door might not have needed a second person at all. It might have needed nothing more than a dying body completing one final, involuntary motion. But that's not where the horror ends. Because the scene wasn't just locked, it was staged. A chair moved to a place no one would sit. A light switched off mid-struggle. Objects out of place in ways that made investigators certain someone else had been in that room.
But here's where things get stranger. Psychologists studying isolated deaths discovered something chilling. Extreme fear and physical trauma can make a dying body move in ways that appear completely deliberate to anyone who finds it later. It's called agonal movement, and it has fooled trained investigators for decades. So the murder may not have been staged by a killer at all. It may have been staged by a body, alone in its final terrified seconds. Then scientists uncovered something even more unsettling. When researchers compared similar hotel deaths across different countries, a disturbing pattern emerged. Many victims had told someone, a call, a text, a note, that they felt watched in the hours before they died.
Alone, doors locked, and still convinced someone was in the room with them. This wasn't superstition. This was a documented psychological phenomenon called perceived presence. Extreme isolation, combined with dim lighting, muffled sound, and unfamiliar architecture, can trick the brain into sensing another person in the room, a presence that isn't real but feels undeniable. Climbers report it at extreme altitude. Sailors report it during long solo voyages at sea. Starved of familiar cues, the brain manufactures company to survive the silence. Now picture it, a person alone, already flooded with stress hormones, suddenly certain with total conviction that someone else is there. Panic ignites. The body reacts before the mind can catch up. In the chaos of that final struggle, a scene is created that looks, to anyone who finds it, like a violent crime.
Not because a killer was in the room, but because the brain, pushed past its limits, can conjure a threat so convincing that the body fights back against something that was never there. That's the twist almost no one sees coming. The very thing that made this death look impossible may be explained by nothing more than the human mind turning on itself in the dark. Not a murderer, not a ghost. A nervous system, cornered by isolation, fighting an enemy that existed only inside a single terrified skull. And that leaves you with a question you won't be able to shake.
If your own brain can convince your body that danger is standing right beside you, vivid enough to make you move, react, and fight, then how sure are you really that the room you're sitting in right now is as empty as it looks? Lock the door if you want. Some things get in anyway.